Assalamu alaikum, this is Nabila Sigdatoma welcoming you all to the English news from Btv Chattogram. Let's begin with the headlines. First phase of Bishu Istema begins on the bank of Turag River. Pious Muslims from across country gather in the Istema ground and offer Jummah prayers. February, the month of language movement, to begin tomorrow, as well as Omor Ekushe Book Fair to kick off at the same time. More exhibitions featuring July uprising needed as history of July mass uprising not to be distorted. Irregularities, corruption and money looting takes place in name of canal digging in Chattogram during Fascist Awami League regime, says industry advisor. Black boxes found as official examine staffing shortage in Washington, D.C. plane crash. And Sri Lanka trailed by 518 runs against Australia on third day in first test of two-match series in Galley. Viewers, those were the headlines and moving on to the details. The first phase of the Bishu Istema started on Thursday after Maghrib prayer through Amboyan on the bank of Turag River in Tungi. The formalities of the 58th edition of the congregation began with the Amboyan of Maulana Ibrahim Dalwar. Meanwhile, pious Muslims from capital and its adjoining areas gathered the Istema ground in the morning today and offered Jummah prayers. The number of devotees from home and abroad is on the rise on the bank of Turag in Tungi to take part in the first phase of the Bishu Istema. As many as 2,150 foreign devotees from 72 countries have so far joined the Istema. Additional number of law enforcers have been deployed in and around the Istema ground to ensure security of the devotees. The participants are happy with the arrangements of the Bishu Istema. February, the month of language movement, will begin tomorrow. On February 21st in 1952, many valiant sons of the soil, including Salim, Jabbar, Shafiq, Borkut and Rafiq, sacrificed their lives for the recognition of their mother language Bangla. Marking the historic month, Chief Advisor Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus will inaugurate the Omor Ekushe Book Fair at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Red, black and white color have been chosen for the fair this year. Red is the symbol of revolution, black for mourning and white is a symbol for hopes. The spirit of the July-August mass uprising of the student and the masses will be portrayed in this year's Omor Ekushe Book Fair. Fascist Sheikh Hasina's rule came to an end through the revolution of July-August. There will be a July Chottor at the fair. The visitors' interest has increased in the July Uprising exhibition, which showcases documentary evidence of the July mass upsurge that changed the country's socio-political landscape. People from all walks of life, including students and working citizens, are gathering to the exhibition. They said that more exhibitions featuring such documentary evidences are needed to ensure that the history of the July mass uprising is not distorted. Many people are bringing their families to this unique exhibition on the July mass uprising organized by Daily Prathomalo. 6 individuals, Matar Abu Said, Mir Mahfuzur Rahman Mugdho, Mahmudur Rahman Shaikot, Naima Sultana, Shafiquddin Ahmad, Ahnaf and the child Jabbar Ibrahim have been featured in the Martyrs' Corner as a symbol of all martyrs. Besides significant photographs captured during the uprising, along with shell casings and various equipments used by police and other forces to suppress the movement, have been showcased. The young generation hopes that the new Bangladesh achieved through the sacrifices of students and people will be discrimination-free and democratic. The July Uprising exhibition, organized to spread the spirit of the July mass uprising from generation to generation, is scheduled to end today. Industry advisor Adlur Rahman said irregularities, corruption and money looting have taken place in the name of canal digging in Chattogram during the Awami League government. He said this after inspecting the Barupara and Sunni Madrasa canal drain excavation and cleaning activities of the country in the morning. Industry advisors said the canal digging work that was done earlier to resolve the waterlogging has not been done. At that time, the current Chattogram City Corporation Mayor Dr. Shadat Hussain appraised the advisor on the progress of the activities. Asked whether the city residents will be free from waterlogging in the coming monsoon, the city mayor Dr. Shadat Hussain said that the water will not rise like other years, but there will be waterlogging. In the past year, due to lack of coordination among CDA, City Corporation and Water Development Board, the city residents have had to face waterlogging every year. He said these organizations will work in coordination to resolve waterlogging in the coming days. Now, international news. The black boxes of a commercial flight that collided with a military helicopter in Washington, D.C. have been located, as questions mount about staffing and other close calls at the airport where the plane was landing. Officials are still investigating the cause of the incident that killed all 67 people aboard the two aircrafts. The National Transportation Safety Board (NTSB) said a preliminary report will be issued in 30 days. The flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, known as the black boxes, can help offer clues to investigators about what may have gone wrong on the flight. According to the NTSB, late on Thursday night, both boxes were transported to one of its labs for evaluation. It was first reported by the New York Times as not normal, according to a preliminary Federation Aviation Administration (FAA) report. Meanwhile, Trump and his fellow Republicans have blamed Democrats' diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the federal government for this accident. And less than 24 hours after first major U.S. air disaster in more than a decade, Trump, along with his secretaries of Transportation and Defense and his vice president, took turns hammering their point, even as they provided no evidence that federal hiring practices had any connection to this particular crash. Asked by a reporter how he could blame diversity programs for the crash when the investigation has only begun, the president responded, "Because I have common sense." After a delay of several hours, there was jubilant scenes in Ramallah where around 60 Palestinian prisoners were freed from Israeli detention into the arms of their overjoyed loved ones. Among those released and tasting freedom for the first time in 22 years was 47-year-old Hussein Nassar, who was arrested in 2003 for taking part in the Second Palestinian Intifada or uprising. Among the 110 Palestinian prisoners released at this stage of what is still a fragile ceasefire were several women and children, and the youngest of them being 15 years old. Some of them were accused of relatively minor offenses, others had not been convicted or been formally charged. But 21 prisoners convicted of the most serious offenses, including murder, were not allowed by Israel to return home to the Palestinian territories and were exiled to Egypt or the neighboring countries. A group of Panamanian students protest in the capital on the ahead of Marco Rubio's visit to the country, which will be the first stop on his Central American tour in his first trip abroad as head of U.S. diplomacy. Rubio is expected to address the agenda of President Donald Trump, who has vowed to take back control of the Panama Canal. Earlier on Thursday, Panamanian President Jose Raul Molino ruled out discussing control over the canal with Rubio when he visits the country. The canal belongs to Panama, he told reporters. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said on Thursday he had zero doubt that China has a contingency plan to shut down the Panama Canal in the event of a conflict with the U.S. and that Washington intends to address what it sees as a national security threat.